All right, what's up, my friends? Complete set review for March of the Machine. Full set review, constructed, limited, every card. We do white, blue, black, and red. Those are all on YouTube. Go watch those, please, and check them out. But now we're doing green, and let's just go. Just jump right in. Let's just do it. Bad joke means we got to go right in. And we're starting off with a bang here.
Good lord. Gigantic.
Ancient Imperiosaur. 7 mana 6/6 trample ward 2. Convoke. So you can tap your creatures to cast it. It ETBs with 2+1/+1 counters on it for each creature that convoked it. So if I have 7 green creatures in play, I can play this for free and get a 20/20 creature.
Oh my god, Becky.
That being said, that of course leaves you pretty. If you have 7 creatures in play already, that's a lot. That's a lot. So I would say that this card seems huge. For decks that can kill this card or are good at killing creatures, this card's not going to be great. This feels very similar to Galta to me. Galta was the 12/12 trample from whatever set it was in. That was it was cheaper for the power of creatures that you controlled, and it was the kind of card that was really, really good when you were goldfishing and your opponent wasn't interacting, but pretty bad when they were killing your creatures and playing Doomblades and stuff. This card feels very similar. If your opponent's not interacting, you can just slam this thing down as a freaking 14/14 or whatever, and boom, get you. But if they're killing your stuff, this card seems pretty bad. So I think this card will probably see play in Constructed. Kind of similar to Galta, I think. I think Galta is better because tapping your creatures is a cost. If I tap my creatures and then cast this and they kill it and I have no blockers, it's pretty bad. So that's definitely a concern. But I think it will see play in a similar vein to Galta, just not as good. In Limited, woo boy! Slam this chonker down and go to town. But in Constructed, I think this is a kind of a fringe card. Has a lot of power, is pretty exciting, but not, the dreams of 2020s are, okay. I don't know. Moving on. Arachnoid Adaptation. 1 green instant, +2/+2, gains reach, and untaps. I do love 1 mana tricks Limited. Don't get me wrong. This one's reasonable, not super exciting, but if you need a way to push through or have a trick, this card does it for you. So, would never take this card high, but I would not be embarrassed to play this card in my deck. Atraxa's Fall. Aww. F's in chat for Atraxa. Poor Atraxa here is getting beaten by a common. 2 mana for a sorcery. Destroy target artifact, battle, enchantment, or creature with flying. Now, I have a rules question. Judge, if you destroy a battle, did you win the battle? Correct. Okay, so it does not. That's what I thought. So destroying a battle does not win the battle. It just destroys it. So this is mostly going to be used for your own killing the battles that have been given to you. So they give you a nasty battle, you destroy it. So it's sort of like a disenchant for battles. It also kills artifacts and enchantments. It also kills flyers. The problem is this card's a sorcery. These cards are usually instants. So as a sorcery, it's much less exciting, but it's a sideboard card. It is what it is. But yeah, sideboard card, Constructed Limited, you get the idea. Girder Goon's getting it done. Blighted Burgeoning. 2 mana for enchantment aura, enchant land. This is your typical land aura that makes a tap for 2 of any color. As an effect, this says Incubate 2. If you're, splashing lots of colors in Limited, if it's a multicolored format, this could be a good card. There are a absolute assload of multicolor legends. Pardon my French, but oh my god, there's so many of them. Of 3-color legends and 2-color legends, so I could see mana fixing being important in this format. Probably going to be a reasonable draft card if you're doing stuff like that. Chomping Kavu. 4 mana for a 3/3 common backup. So it was 1 backup common for 4 mana on each color. This is a 3/3 backup 1. Can't be blocked by creatures power 4 or less. So on the floor, it's a 4/4, which honestly isn't that bad. Green's not really a good backup color, though. Whereas, other colors have things to pump to it. But this is a reasonable common. Decent rate. It's fine. Not super exciting, but reasonable card. Converter Beast is a 4 mana 0/1 creature. And when it ETPs, you incubate 5. 5's a lot. And then you can, of course, incubate is you get a creature with a token with 5+1/+1 counters on it, and pay 2, transform it into a 5/5. This card is exceptionally good on rate, with a 2/2 flyer for 3 and white that flips things for free. that's excellent. Aside from that, you're looking at about 6 mana here for a 5/5 and an 0/1, which is a little less exciting. However, if you can find a way to blink this thing, which is a white common blink card, that's also really good. So this is kind of a card where it's pretty swingy. You know, on rate, not that exciting, but there is a lot of good things it can do. And if you're doing those things, I think it is going to be pretty good. But if you're not, it's not that exciting. Copper Host Crusher. 8 mana, 8/8, trample, hexproof.
Good lord. Gigantic.
I mean, no convoke, no way to cast this thing easy. It's just freaking huge. If you're desperate for a for a large creature to win the game with in your draft deck, I guess this will do it, but 8 mana is an obscene amount of mana, so probably shouldn't play this card that much. Cosmic Hunger, 2 mana for an instant. Target creature you control deals damage to its power, another creature, planeswalker, or battle. This is your Rabid Bite effective set. Good. We've seen this card 1,000 times. Now it can hit battles, which is cool. It's a good draft card. Crystal Carapace, 4 mana for a aura. Creature gets +3/+3 and has ward 2, and then cycling 2. Honestly, this card curves really well with that Double Striker in white, which is kind of cool. And there is a hexproof creature in blue. But all in all, these sorts of auras typically aren't that good. You know, Ward 2 is cool, but, like, they can kill it eventually anyway. So, I don't know. Has cycling too, which is kind of cool, but... Deeproot Wayfinder. This card is very exciting. Maybe not a sleeper at this point. I think people are kind of clued into this card, but this card's really good. 2 mana for a 2/3. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player or a battle, surveil 1. Then you may return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So this card can draw a card every turn, but it actually puts the land into play. So it ramps and gets card advantage and surveils. Of course, the thing is, you need to have a land in your graveyard already. You can't rely on surveilling it. So in older formats, fetch lands obviously are the obvious comparison. But even in standard, we have like the new Capenna fetch lands, you know, which are kind of cool. Pioneer has a Fabled Passage or whatever, which is kind of cool. And surveilling is pretty great. Surveilling and ramping is pretty great. It's a Merfolk for possible other synergies as well. I do agree with this card is sort of like Without a Home. We're not sure exactly what deck wants this card, but the power's there, which is pretty sweet. So card seems really, really good. It's a sleeper card. Not sure where it's going exactly, but looks really, really cool. And then, yes, a really awesome cube card. Strip Mine, Wasteland, and so on and so forth. Really, really good cube card. This is, there are cards for sure that end up being... like, they're pretty good, but just never find a home, and it being cool cube cards. This card might fall under that umbrella, but it's pretty cool. So, and draft, it's obviously great. Super good value for a 2/3, but card's really awesome. Doomscar Warrior. Green 2 for a 4/3 trample with backup 1. So this is effectively a 5/4 trample, if you want it to be. Whenever this creature goes combat damage to a player or battle, look at that many cards in your library. You may reveal a creature or land card among them, put it in your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of the library in a random order. This card's good. This card's very good, actually. So you can play this card. You back up the creature you have in play already. It gets trample and +1/+1. Then it hits them. You can draw a card off of it. This thing draws cards too. The problem is, like, it's not... these cards tend to fail because they look like they want to be stompy cards. But the stompy deck doesn't really want to draw cards. They just kind of want to kill your opponent. So that being said, constructed, maybe... this is pretty good Fable, honestly. Turn 3 Fable, turn 4 play this, make it a 3/3 attack. Kind of cool. But yeah, a lot of rate here, a lot of stats. Bonkers limited card, obviously. Will it find all of them constructed? We'll see. But the rate is there for sure. Fertiliz's Favor. 4 mana for an instant. Target player searches library for a basic land card. Puts it in the battlefield tap, then shuffles. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target artifact or creature. Very, very weird card. This is a instant speed, rampant growth, giant growth effect. When you look at 4 mana for a rampant growth, that's really, really bad. But when you look at 4 mana for +2/+2 permanent counters in combat, that's not that bad, actually. That's pretty cool. And again, there are some big, huge creatures in the set, as we just saw, the big 8 mana 8/8. So ramping is reasonable. And then the counters also have synergy too. And then again, there's like that 1/3 double strike in white. You can put counters on, which is pretty cool. So I think this card looks really, really weird, but it's also probably better than it looks. Card's Card's kind of cool, honestly. It's kind of a cool card. Not a card you're slam dunking, you're taking your super early or anything like that, but I think this card is definitely going to have a home in the right deck. Glistening Dawn. What is happening in this art? It's gnarly. Green 2, sorcery. Incubate X twice, where X is the number of lands you control. So on turn 4, this is incubate 4 twice, so you get 2 tokens that can make 4/4s later. That's kind of cool. Obviously, it gets better later in the game because if you think of incubate as being like a kicker of 2, on turn 8, for example, you play this, you get 2 things, and you pay 2 and then pay 2, so you get 2 8/8s for 8 mana, which is kind of cool, and that scales up, which is kind of nice. So this thing scaling up is good. On 6, this makes a 6/6 immediately, and then a 6/6 later, which is kind of cool also. Obviously, tokens are vulnerable to bounce spells, things like that too, but card's kind of cool. I don't know if it's good enough on rate, honestly, for constructed, but it's kind of cool. And then in limited, though, this card's bonkers. Super, super awesome card. Iridescent Blade Master, 2 mana for a 2/2. This is your usual common bear with a mana sink ability. Good draft card. 4 is a good number on this. It's a good draft card. Kami Whispered Hopes, 2 mana for a 1/1. It's a spirit. Whenever 1 or more plus counters will be put on a permanent you control, that many plus counters are put on a +1. So it pluses 1 the counters you put onto it. And then add mana of any one color where X is its power. So the green-white mechanic in this set is counter stuff. As you can see, we have a lot of counter stuff, and that makes all these cards a little bit better, obviously. And this is a mana creature that can put more mana on it if you get more counters on it. A little weak, honestly, as far as like just being a 1 mana 3/1. A 3 mana 1/1. I really am mixed up today. But pretty cool card. It also pumps your incubate cards as well. Card seems cool. Cool draft card. Overgrown Best. Bombin Common. 3 mana for a 2/2. ETBs. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a land or double face card among them. Put it in your hand. Rest go to the bottom. So this is 3 mana 2/2 draw card. If you need a land, it finds a land. But if you need a spell, it can find you any of the double face creatures. It can find you your battles. It can find you a lot of different things. And the primary mechanic in blue-green is flip stuff. Things that have to do with flip stuff. So this is going to find a spell a lot of the time and a land almost every time. And that's just really, really good rate for a 3-drop. Very, very solid 2/2. Good card advantage. Card seems great. Just not much to say. Just a good draft card. Honestly, Bombin Common. Ozolith, the Shattered Spine. New version of Ozolith. Green and 1 for a legendary artifact. If 1 or more plus counters be put on an artifact or creature you control, put that many +1, so it's hardened scales. And then pay 2, put a counter on target artifact or creature you control as a sorcery, but it puts 2 on, and then as a cycling. This card's good. If there's a plus counter deck, this is it. This is the card you want. Mana sink, doubles things. And then it has cycling too, because it's a legendary artifact. So if you're all second one, so you can play 4 of this card and not feel bad about it. Card seems good. And then limited, card seems excellent. You just pump yourself up and kill them. So great limited card. Definitely possible constructed card. Hard scales. Where are my hard scales fans at? Step up. Placid Rottentail. 1 mana for a fungus rabbit. Aww. Is that all? Is that gross or cute? I don't know what this is. 1 for 1. Vigilance. Pay 3 and exile from the graveyard to put 2 counters on target creature. Activate only as a sorcery. So the problem with this card is that I think that the graveyard ability is excellent, but there isn't really much self-mill or sacrifice effects in green. That's more in blue and black. And this card would be excellent in those decks. In your green deck, are you making use of the front side of this card well enough? You can just chump block, obviously. It's not the end of the world. But, I don't know. Seems okay, but not super great. Portent Tracker, 2 mana for a 1/1. There's a mana creature, untaps the land. You can also tap it to choose a battle and either add a counter or remove a counter. So, again, the red green theme is kind of just like, can you beat the battles and get effects for it? This does that pretty well. Obviously, as a mana creature for 2 mana, it's like totally fine. And then having the ability to interact with battles later is cool too. Very good common. Very, very solid draft common. I think this card has an outside shot at constructed if like battles really matter. But definitely a good draft common for sure. Ravenous Sailback, 5 mana for a 3/4. Uncommon. When it ETBs, choose 1. It gains haste or it disenchants. think it's a little too small, honestly. ETB Disenchant is pretty sweet, but a 3/4 for 5 is not a very good rate. At least a 4/4 maybe would be cool, but as a 3/4, Constructed is not going to get there. And then in Limited, this card's obviously okay, but neither side is particularly exciting. Seems like an okay Limited card. Sandstalker Mulak. Green 1 for a 4/2 flash, which is honestly not that bad. When it ETBs, if an opponent casts a blue or black spell this turn, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a permanent card from among them and put it in your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This card's ridiculous. I don't know if this sort of effect is like what you want in Constructed, but this card's unreal. In Constructed, it's just like a 4/2 flash for 3 that draws a spell. It's pretty good. The question, of course, is like what deck wants this card, but it just seems pretty good. Yeah. And then in Limited, obviously just a 4/2 flash for 3 is fine. And if you ever draw a card, it's insane also. This card seems pretty busted. Not like Veil Summer busted, but does seem very, very good. Draw a land also, yeah, seems really, really good. So, seems really sweet, really sweet. Seed of Hope. 1 green instant, mill 2. You may put a permanent card from among the milled cards into your hand, gain 2 life. It's kind of a weird green cantrip. Being an instant's cool. The problem is, you got to play a lot of permanents to make this card reasonable. And you also want to care about the graveyard stuff, too. So, you're self-milling, but do you care? You gain 2 life, but do you care? And then you can't really risk missing ever with this card. If you miss ever, you're screwed. So, you got to play, at least 50 permanents, probably, maybe more. I'm not a math guy. I don't really know what the math is on it. But and the fact that it's not a permanent itself is damning because it will not facilitate itself. If this was an enchantment that ETB or something like that, sure, but I don't know. I think this card's a little too rough. I don't think it does what you want it to do, and just too finicky, and I don't know, not really in on it. And then in Limited, again, if you're playing a ton of permanents, I guess, but you get a land obviously. But the thing is, say you have your deck is 20 lands, 20 spells, and 20 permanents, you're gonna miss a lot of the time. So I don't know. And then why do you want this effect? Which just play a better card, So Serpent Bait Assailant is a 3-mana 2/1 backup 1 Death Touch. Kind of a cool card, obviously, because you can give Death Touch something and attack in whatever, and then it just trades well enough. 3/2 Death Touch for 3 is also fine. It's a limited filler. Storm the Seed Core, green 2 sorcery. Distribute 4 +1/+1 counters among up to 4 targets you control. Creatures you control gain Vigilance, Trample on turn. This is a pretty good overrun effect. First off, the art's also. Let's just look at the art for a second. Pretty cool art, honestly. Looks very Renaissance painting-esque. But this is a pretty good overrun effect. The fact that the counters stay is huge. Because the problem with overruns are you need to win the game that turn, or whatever, I guess. So the fact that the counters stay is huge. And then counters also matter a lot on different cards in green-white. It's part of the synergy, too. I think it's a pretty good card. I think this is a pretty solid curve topper for your draft deck. Going to win a lot of games with this card, I think. Good draft card for sure. Constructed, probably not. But Limited, excellent card. Isn't the white version +2/+1 on the turn? Right, that's what I mean. Compare this card to the +2/+1 effect at instant speed in white. Being an instant is relevant, because obviously, as a sorcery, they can line up their blocks the way they want to. But I think giving Vigilance Trample is huge. It's good on offense and defense. So, Shirai Negotiator, 2-mana 4 and 0/2, backup 1. This creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. This card's excellent. It's a 3/3 for 2 with a bunch of upside. You can back up other things. It's a 2/2. Put a counter somewhere. We see a lot of the 1/1 for 1. I'm sorry, 1/1 for 2 that comes into play with a counter on it, which is cool. And those cards are always good and limited. This card's just like that, but a 2/2 instead of 1/1. And then you also have the backdoor option of targeting your 3/5 and getting more of the toughness bonus, the little door round stuff. But it is pretty funny if this is a 3/3 for 2 that dies to cut down, unfortunately. But it's a super, super solid card. Probably not there in Constructed unless the +1/+1 counter stuff really matters. But in Limited, excellent. Excellent 2-drop. Tandem Takedown. Green 1 for an instant. Up to 2 target creatures you control. each get +1/+0. They each deal damage equal to their power to another target creature, planeswalker, or battle. So this is like a super bite. It can kill large things. And you get a little bit of a pump bonus as well. Good card, honestly. 3 mana for a bite's fine, but you also get a pump spell too. So you can definitely orchestrate in combat. Like, you win a combat with this and then fight another thing also, which is kind of cool. So good draft card. Tangle Skyline is a 5 mana enchantment. This is the green enchantment with Incubate token. So ETB, you gain 5 life and incubate 5. And your Phyrexians have reach. Which is basically just a 7 mana 5/5 gain 5 with a little bit of upside, which is pretty good, honestly. And then of course you can, if you have incubate synergies and so on and so forth, it's pretty good as well. Card's good. This card's good. Timberland Ancient. This is the green land cycler. 6/5 reach trample, far cycling 2. Good curve stopper. A 6/5 reach trample is honestly, that was playable in the last set, right? Wasn't that in Obi-Wan there was a common like that was fine. And then this just has far cycling, which is great. So good common. Not a card you take early, but super solid card. Tribute to the World Tree. Green enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card if its power is 3 or greater. Otherwise, put 2 counters on it. These cards just aren't good. We saw this with the white enchantment like this previously. You just don't want to be playing a card on turn that doesn't do anything and requires more things to happen. I don't like it. Has 3 green pips, hard to cast. Not good with like elves, because you can't like play this with elves and start, glimpse of naturing elves because they cost 3 or greater. It's not about it. Vengeance, I guess unlimited. It's too hard to cast, I think. And then Devotion, why would you want that card? Just play a card that affects the board. Vengeance Earth, 2 mana for an instant. This card's really interesting. Target creature or land you control becomes a 4/4 elemental with haste. In addition to other types, on a turn, must be blocked this turn. So we have an odd pump spell, land animate, lure card. And I think this card, typically cards that do a lot of these different things are bad. But this card is bringing together a whole bunch of them at once at a pretty good rate, which seems pretty good. So this could be a pump spell. I have a bear, you have a bear, I attack, you block, I make it a 4/4. This could be an ambush spell. You have a 4/4, or you have a land in play, they attack you, you animate your land, make it a 4/4 and block. This could be a removal spell. You, out of nowhere, just animate your land, attack 0/3/3, make it block. Cool. This can be really good with the +1/+1 counter effects, which are huge, where it becomes a 4/4 with 4 +1/+1 counters on it. Now it's an 8/8. That's also huge. So this card just does a whole bunch of stuff. In addition to like making a land, also, I think this card's great. This card's really, really good. I think this card's gonna be sneakily very, very good. It might be one of the better green commons. I'm not ready to commit Bombin Common to it just yet, but I think this card's pretty awesome, honestly, despite looking like a bad card. Vorinclex, green 3, trample reach 6/6, pretty big. When ETB search the value of 2 forest cards, put them into your hand, not play unfortunately, and then 8 mana to exile it and flip it. You can. There's no caveat. You just do it. It just costs a lot. The caveat is very, very expensive. Flip it into the Grand Evolution. Mill 10 cards, Chapter 1. Put up 2 creature cards among the mill cards in the battlefield. So it's pretty good, honestly. Pretty good to spend 8 mana and still affect the board, which is good. Chapter 2 is distribute 7 +1/+1 counters among all your stuff. It's pretty good, obviously. And then Chapter 3 is, to end of turn, creatures you control gain 1. This creature fights a creature you don't control, and then it flips back over into Vorinclex. This is pretty good, honestly. The body is good enough as it is. Like a 6/6 trample reach for 5 is fine. And then once you pop this thing, obviously they can kill it in response, but like if it goes off, I mean, a lot of really good things happen. And then obviously it just gets 2 forest also. They are not basic. You can get triumphs and stuff like that, which is cool. And then the fact that you're getting some value off your big idiot is nice. You play this and they kill it. At least you got 2 forest off of it. You can do stuff too. So plays well at Storm Festival. Plays well with Devotion stuff. Plays well with the ramp. It's pretty good, honestly. I think this card is better than it looks. 8 is a lot. Don't get me wrong. But I think this card's pretty good. And limited, obviously, it's a slam dunk. It's funny because in limited, like, milling 10 is actually a concern. So, but even on rate, a 6/6 for 5 is awesome. So, good rate limited card too. Yeah, pretty good card. War Historian, the mana for a 3/3 reach. It is indestructible as long as it attacks a battle. This card's just good. 3/3 reach for 3 is just like good by itself. It's just a fine rate for a card. And the fact this can attack battles with impunity is awesome as well. Again, battles are very important to red and green. We'll get to those a little bit later. We're doing all the battles at once, but good draft common. Wari Thespian, 2 mana for a 3/1. ETBs or dies, surveil 1. Great 2-drop, honestly. Great 2-drop, attacks well, trades well, and then also just gives you a lot of value too. I like it. We're off script, but I like it. Wildwood Escort, 5 mana for a 3/3. When it ETBs, return a creature card or battle card from your graveyard to your hand. If it would die, exile it. So we have a... This is weird. This is a green Gravedigger. I think this is a reasonable card in draft. It's not great because it's pretty small, but returning a battle or creature is pretty good. Obviously, it's a good value card. So if you're good at grinding, this card does that pretty well. Yeah, honestly, it's pretty good. Not like incredible. The sizing's not great, but it's pretty good. Ren and Realm Breaker.
It's a trap.
This card's not pretty good. Green 1 for a 4 loyalty planeswalker. Chromatic Lantern. All of your lands tap for any color. Cool. +1. Up to 1 land you control becomes a 3/3 elemental creature with vigilance, hexproof, and haste on next turn. It's still a land. Important to note, this does not untap the land, so you cannot use this ability profitably on turn 3. -2, mill 3 cards. Put a permanent card from among the mill cards into your hand. Sure. -7, get an emblem with you may play lands and cast permanent cards from your graveyard. Sure. So, and the creature effect is only temporary. So, effectively, this does nothing the turn you cast it. Except for plus. You can minus it, I guess, and you can like draw a card. But it doesn't defend itself at all. It doesn't really attack particularly well. It doesn't really draw cards particularly well. You can't rely on it for mana because it costs green, and you just can't rely on a planeswalker to fix your mana. So like, what are we doing with this card? What deck wants this card? You know? I can see this being like a change of pace card for like an aggro deck. If you just need like a threat that's not a creature. Sure. But all in all, not really super excited for this card, honestly. Sort of just, I don't know. Sort of, it's not the worst card ever printed, but I just don't really see what deck would want this card. In limited, sure, go nuts. It's Planeswalker. It's pretty good. But, yeah, at 5 loyalty, I guess you're drawing 2 cards off of it. But even then, like, you're not guaranteed to get cards you want anyway when you're mowing the cards. So, Bonded Herd Beast, 5 mana for a 4/5 common. Pay 4 and a Phyrexian red. Turn it into Plated Klin Beast. 7/5 menace. This is just like your filler level. You know, I need a big idiot for my draft deck. Here it is. It's alright. It's not great. It's fine. Notvold Hermit. 4 mana for a 4/4. A lot better rate. 5 and a blue Phyrexian to transform, and it turns into a Chrome Host Hulk, which is a 5/5. Whenever it attacks, 1 creature you control is base power 5/5. That is excellent. Because not only is that just a good ability anyway, but it stacks with plus and plus encounters too. So, card's great. 4/4 for 4 is obviously fine. A lot of upside, great mana sink. Super solid draft card. Herbology Instructor is a 2 mana 1/3. ETB gain 3, which is fine. Pay 6 and a Phyrexian black to turn into a Malady Invoker, which is a 3/3. And when you transform into this, target creature an opponent controls gets -X to its toughness until end of turn, where X is this creature's power. So -3. So we have a 3/1, a 1/3, gain 3 life for a 2-drop. Later in the game, we can kill something. It's not going to kill big things, which is a little awkward. This card seems fine, but unexciting to me. 6 is a lot. That's a lot of mana to flip. You can use it for backup, which is super cool. So you're putting counters into this thing. It's kind of nice. But you're not gaining much by putting counters on this until you flip it. Because having a 2/4 vanilla creature or a 3/5 vanilla creature is okay. You know, so definitely a fine card, but I think it's, only good, not great. You normally would think of a card that like transforms to kill stuff is awesome, but I think this one is just like okay. Pelucranos Reborn. I mean, like,
Good lord. Gigantic.
so big. Green, green, green for a 4/5 with reach. Sizing is very good, obviously. A 4/5 for green, green is very, very solid. Not, not crazy or anything by all means on the front side. However, if your opponent ever taps out and you flip this bad boy, 6 mana and a Phyrexian white to get Pelucranos Engine of Ruin. Wormcoil Engine-esque. Reach lifelink. And whenever this or another Hydra you control dies, make a 3/3 white lifelinker and a 3/3 white, green-white lifelinker. So, it is a worse Wormcoil Engine, but you also get a 4/5 for 3. So, like, you get a well-static creature that just, like, beats, blocks, attacks, has reach, super nice. And then later in the game, boom, now you have a Wormcoil. This card seems absurd in Devotion, in Pioneer, because Devotion wants a 4/5 green, green, green anyway, and then is also really good at making a bunch of mana. So, like, couldn't ask for a better card for Mono Green Devotion. You probably only want, like, 1 or 2, because it's a legend, obviously. But really, really powerful card there. And then just in general, I mean, it's just a good creature that has, mana sink for later in the game into an even better creature. That's really, really good. So, card's excellent. Obviously, a little hard to cast in Limited, but I think you're totally fine just playing this, in your 9 Forest, 7 Plains deck and just, like, cast it on turn 5, whatever. It's still really, really good. And, yeah, pretty insane card. Best in show, Pelucranos Reborn. So, to recap, best in show, Pelucranos Reborn. We just saw that card. Deeper Wavefinder is our sleeper card. Random Realmbreaker is our trap card. And then Overgrown Pest is our Bombin Common. That's green. Put it in the books. YouTube folks, love you. Like, comment, subscribe. If you missed any of these, as always, they will all be up on YouTube tomorrow, which is Friday. And if you missed them, go watch them. All in sections. Super easy to watch. Take a second, like the video, please, if you can. Leave a comment, and you're all great. Let's go. Moving on to multicolored next, and there are a lot of crazy multicolored cards.